Okay, the next step is to light the fire of self compassion. Now, remember all the love that you had for your loved one in your home, where compassion and tenderness came so naturally to you. Well, try to harness some of that compassion and see if you can direct it towards yourself. Lighting the fire in your home is the same as cultivating that compassion in your heart. It means being prepared to emotionally contain all of your big and messy and complicated feelings, like a mother would hold and soothe a crying infant with tenderness and compassion. It's your job to soothe your aching heart with the same tenderness and compassion. Cultivating self compassion can be one of the most challenging aspects of this whole process, especially if you have a particularly loud or nasty inner critic. And it takes practice, so be patient with yourself. But I'm going to challenge you to do one little thing right now that might feel so cheesy and uncomfortable, but I'm going to challenge you to do it anyway. Put two hands on your cheeks and say, I am suffering and I am here for you. My feelings of anger and hurt and fear. I will take good care of you. Okay, so hopefully we've managed to get the fire of self compassion going. So now it is time to sit down next to the warmth of our lovely fire and have a cup of tea with our feelings. We aren't judging them or judging ourselves for having them or trying to fix them or squash them or ignore them. We're giving them the time and the space they need to breathe and to alchemize, metabolize. Drinking the tea is kind of like being your own therapist and your own mother all at the same time. It's about getting to your core emotion, but it begins with naming the surface one. So let's start there. Naming the feeling. Reflecting on the specific conflict that you've been exploring, can you identify what the surface or the most obvious emotion was for you? Was it anger or fear or panic or numbness or hopelessness? Number two, observe the feeling viscerally. The next step is to notice how you experience this emotion in your body. If it's anger, does it feel like your blood is boiling, or does it feel like your whole body has an electric charge running through it, or like you want to explode, or throw something, or break something? Or if it's fear or panic, does your chest feel tight? Do your hands feel clammy? Does your heart start racing? Or if it's numbnessness or hopelessness that you're experiencing? Does your body feel heavy? Does your breathing feel slow? Or maybe you feel slightly disconnected from your body or from your surroundings. Whatever it is that you're feeling in your body, let it be. This uncomfortable feeling belongs, but it isn't permanent. Like the imaginary fire that you have burning next to you, if you let your feelings breathe and give them time, they'll eventually transform into something else. So, number three, asking yourself why, acknowledging your needs and validating your feelings. The next step is to dig a little bit deeper to try to understand where this feeling is coming from. So, reflecting on your specific conflict, can you identify what emotional need of yours was not being met in that moment? Was it a need to be understood or to be heard or seen? Maybe a need for your boundaries to be respected. Maybe it was a need for your feelings to be acknowledged or validated by the other person. Or it could have just been as simple as needing to feel safe with this person, to feel close and connected to this person. Or if it wasn't any of the needs that I just mentioned, can you try to identify what needs you did have that are important to you that weren't being met? You can refer to the PDF that's attached to this lesson. There are a list of different needs there that you can go through and single out what resonates with you. Part two of drinking the tea by the fire. Circling the center of the core feeling. Now, the next step is to uncover the feeling underneath the feeling. We do this by getting curious about our unmet needs and why they hold such a charge for us. In other words, we ask ourselves why these needs are so important to us. So, zooming out from this particular conflict to a broader experience of your life and what it feels like to be you, existing in this world and having lived through all of the things that you've lived through and experienced. Try to remember a younger, more vulnerable version of yourself, the version of yourself that existed before your trauma reactions had become so inherent or ingrained, the version of yourself that was trusting and open hearted, the version of yourself that existed before you'd learned to protect yourself with all of your maladaptive coping strategies, or maybe the stories and narratives that you developed over time. And now, reflecting on the needs that you highlighted in the previous exercise, can you relate them to this younger, more vulnerable version of yourself? In other words, when you were a child, did you feel as though those needs were always being met? So, for instance, if you highlighted that your need in the specific conflict was to be understood, then zooming out from this conflict, did you feel that as a child you were understood? Or were there times when you were a kid where you didn't feel understood? Reflect on those times. Or if your need in your specific conflict was to feel emotionally connected to the other person, then again, zooming out, did you as a child feel emotionally connected to the people around you in your life? Or were there times where you didn't feel emotionally connected? Can you reflect on those times? And try to remember what it felt like to be that kid having those needs and longing for them to be met. And try to really sit with those feelings and that kid and all of their longing. Once upon a time, you were an innocent, vulnerable kid who simply had needs, like all kids do. And you depended on others to help you meet these needs, like all kids do. And you needed to be seen and heard and understood and cherished and respected, like all kids do. And when these needs weren't met, you might have felt abandoned or ignored or neglected or rejected, even. And sitting with that hurting part of yourself, and you name the feeling that you're experiencing right now in your heart. Is it loneliness? Is it grief? Is it hopelessness or helplessness? Or is there maybe also a sense of longing there, a yearning to feel something more meaningful or to feel more deeply connected to those that you love? Now, while you tenderly reflect on your hurt, I'm going to read you some lines from a poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through a desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. The reason I like this poem so much is because it reminds us that grief and loneliness are universal, that they are part of the human condition, that our sadness and our grief are not our burden to bear alone. They belong to the world, and the world carries them. Grief and sadness, like joy and laughter, are the things that connect us to the world. Our grief is not something to be hidden and kept in shadows. Like laughter, it is there to be shared.